Hey everyone, George here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about something that I get a lot of questions about regarding discus, putting them in a quarantine tank for the first time and getting that aggression and that sort of thing out of the way. Well, the first thing I would tell you is this, that we're going to take a look at some new fish that I just got. Somebody gave these to me. These are little 3.5s. They're all from the same group, and they were very kind and asked me if I wanted them. They were selling most of them and asked me if I kind of wanted the pick of the litter of the bunch that I have in there. And I agreed to take them, but I wanted to take the opportunity to show you what aggression looks like in a new discus tank so that you get some idea as to what you should worry about or what you shouldn't worry about. There's natural pecking order that goes with these fish, and it's very, very important that you understand what that pecking order might look like, or what crazy aggression looks like, where you might have to intervene and remove a fish or remove a couple of different fish or mix things up. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and I'm going to show you that in the video that precedes this. So hang in there with me, and when we come back we'll take a look at discus aggression, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can solve that problem. Be right back. So today we're going to be talking about discus aggression, what is normal and what is something you should be concerned about. And I'm giving you an example of 4 new discus. They're about a 3.5 size, all 4 of them same size. I want to talk about laying the groundwork for getting discus in the first place. We'll talk about that a bit, and then we'll talk about discus aggression. As you can see, there's a little bit of that going on right now because these guys have literally been in this tank for maybe 2 hours, and there is a pecking order that is taking place, which is completely normal. If you see this in your tank and you see fish cower away from the other fish, one may be going to a corner or up high in the tank someplace. That is just something that is going to take a little while for an adjustment to be made with this group of 4. Now, number one, I would normally never have a group of 4. I would always have more than that. As I've suggested to you in many of my videos, I would always get no less than 7 to 10 discus at a time. And the reason for that is they do better as a group. They're very social creatures, and a group of discus between 7 to 10 fish is going to be a much happier group and a much less aggressive group of fish if you purchase them all at once from the same supplier, as well as putting them all in the tank at the same time, the tank that they'll ultimately go in. Now, if you're quarantining them, as I'm doing in this particular video right now, you will see that this tank really doesn't have anything in it. It's not scaped, it's just got some sand at the bottom. I did throw a little flake in there for them to eat, and as you might see through the video here, they will occasionally go down and eat some of that. Now that's a good sign, because what you want is, while that pecking order is taking place, you also want to see all of your fish eating. Now, the lowest guy on the totem pole, which right now would be the guy furthest in the back there, that would be the guy that I would be concerned about at this point, because he is not participating in the pecking order as much as I would like to see. Now, this will all work itself out. It's nothing to worry about. It has nothing to do with the health of the fish or anything like that. If there were a health issue, we would be seeing different things. We would be seeing clamping of the fins. We would see no interaction with the other fish. They would just be simply getting picked on and cowering at the top of the tank or the bottom corner of the tank, maybe laying sideways in the tank, or sometimes they will even be breathing very hard and not participating at all, and just letting the other fish come over and nudge them and try to get them to get out of a certain space. Now, this is all, like I said, normal behavior. This is not something that you worry about. This is all going to transpire with any discus tank, and it will work itself out within a day to a week, somewhere in that time frame. Typically, I have seen most of my discus, if the water is in good condition, the parameters are perfect, and everything else is in order, I will typically see this pecking order start to take shape within a day or two. The best thing to do probably would be not what I'm doing right now. I'm only doing this for your benefit because I want you to see the fish and how they're behaving. But I would normally turn the lights down to about as minimal as I could possibly get them, or turn them off completely, and that way we avoid a lot of this tension that goes on. Now, the only reason I would ever completely turn the lights out would be is if I was having a problem with one or two of the fish not doing very well, and I could see that they were extremely stressed out. Now, I'm not in the room filming this. Basically, I've got a tripod set up, and I'm letting the fish behave as they normally would with me not in the room, so that they can get this aggression worked out with without having the added stress of another human being in the room to add to their stress. Now, if I were to walk in right now in the middle of this filming with the lights up higher, they would act completely different. Many times you would see them, probably all four, go to one part of the tank, and they would stop the pecking order and aggression completely, and that would, as soon as I leave, that would start up again. But there's no reason for me to turn these lights off at this point here. I'm filming this for your benefit to show you what that pecking order looks like. And as you can see, there will be a fish that will act completely as if he is not going to take part in this, and then all of a sudden that fish will be dominant for a few minutes. And this is just all normal behavior. I've seen other people call it, the general is the number one fish, and then you've got the colonel, who's the number two fish, and then the sergeant, who's the number three fish, and in this case, the private, that's the number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, that pecking order is something that is normal and natural, as I said earlier in the video. So I don't want you to think that when you get your discus that is just going to be something that is not going to be tolerated by your fish, and they're going to act like this all the time. That's not the case. This will go on, like I said, for a short period of time. In fact, after the first 2 or 3 hours, as you're starting to see here, these guys are going to start vying for some space in the tank. And once they've established that, they will start to feed a little bit, and then go back to their part of the tank. Or you may see one or two of them split off and go to the other discus in the tank and test them by nudging them or trying to chase them, trying to get their reaction. Sometimes you will see a face-off. Sometimes you'll see, now as you're seeing this one discus is going down and getting something to eat. That's good. You want to see all of these guys do that at some point. But the one up in the top corner here in the very front, he doesn't want anything to do with the pecking order thing, and he's going to be forced to do that at some point because somebody's going to make him like they just did. As you see in the video, that pecking order, that one fish was trying to test that other fish to see if that corner is his or if he's going to defend it or not. If it's not to be defended, you'll see the fish go typically to the center of the tank, top or bottom, or somewhere in that range, and try again. And eventually it'll work itself out. Now, the reason I don't recommend getting 4 fish, the only reason I did this, like I said, is these were given to me. I don't have any other 3.5s in quarantine tanks that I want. Well, I do, but I don't want to mix them in with these fish because I don't know if these fish have diseases of any kind. And my other fish have been in quarantine and are ready for their forever homes. And I don't want to mix them up and create an environment where we start this pecking order all over again. And so normally I would not have 4 fish. In fact, I probably will add to this over the next few days by getting some fish from my regular supplier, same size fish, and we'll see this play out again. But the more fish that you have, the less of this aggression you're going to see. And the reason for that is there's no one particular fish that's going to be able to patrol the whole tank and keep everybody in order. It would just wear them out. So at some point, the more aggressive fish start to calm down, even though they have a pecking order and they will defend their territory. You'll sometimes see literally they'll have a fight where they'll go nose to nose and just have it out for a few seconds, and then one will retreat, and that means that the one that didn't retreat knows that he's earned his spot in the tank, and that will carry on forever as long as these group of fish are together. Now, as soon as I would add some more fish in here, everything would change. If I subtract the fish from this group, everything will change again. So it's very important to understand that the pecking order is important, and it's important to know that you have all of the fish from your supplier. So we're showing you some aggression here and how this works, but we're not showing you a true sense of it. We would normally have our 7 to 10 fish in here and let this sort of take place, and we would have it all worked out within a day or two. Like I said, sometimes it takes a week or a little longer to get everything really worked out. But again, adding to these fish or subtracting from these fish are going to start that process all over again, because believe it or not, a single discus can create a scenario where everybody in the tank, regardless of how long they've been in the tank, whether they're friends or not, they're going to test the boundaries again just to make sure that that pecking order is still in place. If it's not, you'll see a new pecking order start to develop, and you'll start to see other fish play different roles in the tank. Now, what I did want you to see is as these fish are in this tank, you're going to see that the fish that's in the middle here is the most aggressive of all of them and is probably going to be the dominant fish that is going to control what location in the tank each fish is going to have. And he's going to test that by moving them around, going up to them and being physical with them, or just going up to them and chasing them around. If one of the fish decides that he's had enough and he's going to try to change that pecking order, he may go head to head with the guy that's being the most aggressive in the tank and take him on. And if he backs down, he'll be replaced by the guy that challenged him. So it's a very complicated social networking. As you can see, these two at the top here are vying for second place in the tank, and they just went nose to nose, and neither one of them really retreated, and you just saw more aggression with the one at the bottom going up and meeting the guy that was in the far top corner here. He seems to be the weakest link in the group, and to me that will resolve itself, but it's going to take a little time, and we have to make sure and be careful that we don't get a situation where this fish is so intimidated that he is not able to go down and get food comfortably without feeling the stress of and anxiety of keeping his part of the tank and being able to freely eat without somebody chasing him away from the food and whatever. Now, like I said, if you had more discus in the tank, all the same size, all put in at the same time, you would see a little bit of pecking order, but it would be nothing like this. There wouldn't be so much aggression, and it would be a less stressful tank. That's why I recommend, as I said, getting all of your fish the same size from the same supplier, and also getting them at the same time helps to make sure that that pecking order is sort of minimalized. In other words, there's just too many fish for one particular fish to get so aggressive. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, because it will. What I am saying is that it does not have to be something that is so disruptive in the tank that you have to move someone out. Now, you may get a fish that is very, very aggressive and continues to, no matter what you do, create an environment where the tank is stressed out all the time. My recommendation for that is a couple of different things. Number one, you can remove that fish if things are getting so nasty that it just doesn't look like that fish is ever going to adapt, and get him into another group of fish where he fits in better. The second thing you can do is change things around. Now, we have a bare tank here, so it's kind of hard to do that. I can do one of two things. I can take all four of these fish and put them in different quarantine tanks, but like I said, they're social creatures, so that would not bode very well for any of them. So the best thing to do is to continue to try to figure out some other ways to make this aggression go away. Again, my idea would be to maybe put some rocks in the tank, maybe a piece of wood, something that takes them out of line of sight and gives them a little bit of a buffer for an area of the tank where they can maybe sit and not be seen so readily until the aggression sort of goes away. And that's another way that you can do this. You may have to move things around several times before you get a situation where the tank calms down and everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing and acting normal. Like I said, the pecking order is going to be there, but you don't have to believe that that pecking order is going to be so aggressive that somebody gets hurt. If there's aggression to the point where fish are being harmed by other fish, you've got to stop that. That's something that you cannot allow to happen, because you're going to lose fish that way. The stress is going to be so difficult on the anxiety of the fish that they're going to get sick, and there's going to be problems long term with the less aggressive fish in the tank. So if you start to see something like that where there's some real physical damage taking place, it's best to remove the aggressor or to remove the less aggressive tank, the one or fish, the one that's getting beat up. It doesn't matter one way or the other. Removing him is going to change the whole dynamic of the tank, or removing the less aggressive fish is still going to change the whole dynamic of the tank. And the ones that have been standing up to that fish are going to feel an opportunity to take that number one spot. So again, things will start over again. Well, thank you for joining me today. I wanted to show you this because I thought it was important to talk about aggression and how you can deal with it. I hope that I've helped you to understand, as long as your water parameters are good and this normal aggression that you're seeing here, I'm not concerned about any of this. This will work itself out. No one's getting hurt. The eating process, you're starting to see some of the other fish go down as they are in the tank longer and start to eat. That's a normal thing. That's a good thing, and that's what we want to see ultimately. Well, thank you again for joining me today. Hit that like. Give me a thumbs up if you could. Make a comment down below if you have any further questions regarding discus aggression. I'm glad to answer that. I'm always going to get back to you within 24 hours or so, 48 at the most, but I will always get back to you and answer your question as best I can. So again, thank you for joining me, and lots of great videos coming up. We've got a new build that we're working on right now. I'm videoing that as we're scaping it. I talked about that in my last video, and we're going to look forward to seeing all of that in the next video. So thank you for joining me. We will see you on the next one. Until then, take care, and thanks again for spending some time with me. Until the next one, we'll see you on the next one.